Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to my presentation video today, and I'm gonna analyze an literary text from John Lennon, the lyric of his song, which entitled Imagine. This analysis will use the cognitive stylistic analysis, and today we will gonna discuss more about the cognitive analysis stylistic. For the first, I'm gonna tell you the background of this analysis. For the first is about the stylistic. Talking about stylistic, it can be traditionally referred to the textual patterns that are the result of choice made by writers. This statement is mentioned by Stockwell in 2002. He thought that the creativity of the author to bring the message and information in the works become the concerned things in this study. The textual patterns and the style which chosen by the author commonly deliver some uniqueness and characteristic which add the art of the work and also add the value of the work. In this case, the ability of the reader to analyze it is important. The reader may get different perception toward the works. This perception is able to happen, but the stylistic come to give an approach to analyze the works, which is take the authorial creativity as the method to analyze. Sometimes the information and the message of the works are not lies in the text for explicitly. There's some kind of way for author to mention their thoughts. The author gives a characteristic and style on their works to deliver it, and the mentioned text sometimes different with what the reality and perhaps not logic. The author gives his imagination and creativity to deliver the information and message. This information lies deep from the surface of the works. The author could slip their message in the text lexically, grammatically, or in another way. Sometimes each diction which appear in a phrase is stand for opposite. There is no logical relation between this diction for real life. Those could be lead us to analyze the message deeply than what it mentioned in the text. On the leading English literary works is the lyric of John Lennon, which entitled Imagine. John Winston Lennon, his full name, was born 9 October 1940 and died on 8 December 1980. Born in Liverpool, he was known as English singer, songwriter, and peace activist. His name cannot be separated from his popular band, The Beatles. Released in October 1971, Imagine was the most successful single of John Lennon. The song was acclaimed as one of the greatest songs of history of music and also becomes one of the most commercially successful songs. This lyric is full of meaning which implicitly mentioned. This has become the reason of the author to get John Lennon's lyric Imagine as the subject to analyze. The author aimed to analyze the lyric by using cognitive stylistic analysis approach to get the information and message that lies in the lyrics. Next, about this study, I'd like to share to you that this study focused on the relationship between figures of speech and the cognitive stylistic analysis in the lyrics of Imagines by John Lennon. This study will focus and discuss more about the figures of speech and the cognitive analysis, their relationship between both of them, and then the cognitive stylistic analysis is provided by Peter Stockwell. Anaphora is one of the figure of speech which used by John Lennon in his song. Anaphora could be defined as repetition of the same words or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses or verses. The repetition gives us an explanation that the author wanted to emphasize a thought. The repetition also lead a purpose to attract the focus of the reader on reading the literary text. The focus on the repetition will help the reader to understand the literary text as a whole. The anaphora was used by Lennon in his lyric to emphasize the focus of the message. The word imagine has mentioned for several times in the text. At least it mentioned for 6 times in the text. The word imagine itself is such an activity in our brain to make a view of something or imagine it in our brain. The word imagine is a brain activity which is not involved and act on it. Lennon invited the readers to be brave on imagine. As an artist, Lennon simply wanted to influence the reader to imagine everything even it would be impossible to happen. As we can see on the lyrics, the ambience that described is something not real and even nearly impossible to happen, such as the absence of country, religion, and also heaven and hell. But the activity of imagine cannot be limited by an impossibility. The people are free to imagine and not cause any charge on it. Next, the features of the speech which used is the irony. Irony is the use of words to convey the opposite of literal meaning. Also, a statement or a situation where the meaning is contradicted by the appearance or presentation of the idea. The author conveys a situation on the literary text which is contradicted to appearance in real. These figures of speech used by the author to give a view to the reader on something that hard to make it happen or not able to do. On the lyrics, Lennon appears some praise which is hard to make it happen or not able to do. We could see on the first line of the lyrics. Lennon invites the reader to imagine for the absence of heaven, while every belief and religions acknowledge the existence of heaven, although each of them has a different view on it. Moving to line 8 and 11, Lennon invites us to imagine the absence of country and religion. As we know, every single people is live with a national identity. An absence of national identity, a man could face and judge as the effect of it. The reality also that every single inch of land in the world is belong to a country, which make the existence of the country cannot reject it. Like country, religion strictly cannot be omitted from the world. Might be some people not believe on a religion, but that is not a reason to omit and make the absence of religion in the world. The religion is something holy and sacred for those people who believe it. We're moving to the relation of figures of speech with the cognitive stylistic analysis. As we discussed above, the cognitive stylistic analysis is a way to analyze a literary works by concern on the cognitive and psychology. The cognitive factor is embedded in the author and the reader. This factor gives a new approaching to understand a literary works. The reader could analyze widely on the background and the circumstance that involve the author, because it would be influence the cognitive of the author to deliver the meaning of the literary works. John Lennon's background as an artist had been provided by creating an imagine as a literary works. This lyric is full of meaning, although the diction and the structure of the sentence is simple. The lyric also does perform softly and smoothly, which has a simple and slow beats. The things is enough to bring us feel the message of the lyrics. The lyrics also could be thought as the style to protest on inhumanities that happened at the time. John Lennon is well known as human rights activist. On his life story, he fought for the equality and the right of minority people, or people which becomes a victim of wars. At the time, the war of Vietnam consists between Vietnam and United States of America was ongoing. John Lennon was protest for that war because the war had appeared fear and fright. John Lennon gave a style on his lyric to invite people to imagine by use anaphora of imagine and mention it for 6 times. It reveals a fact that John Lennon wanted the people to bold to dream. His style on the lyrics is influenced by the background of the John Lennon, which imagined a world in peace. This could be seen as the relation of cognitive stylistic, which of figure and ground. The background of the figure and the lyrics had influenced the style of his lyric itself. Likewise, the ground which described from the circumstance, the lyric is full of irony and convey people to know the real condition of the world at the time. Based on the lyric, John Lennon invited the reader to feel and to get involved in the lyric by using personal pronouns of you. At lines 50 and 70, the author tried to invite the participation of the reader to stimulate and feeling of the literary works. The author seemed to talk to the personal pronouns of you. I hope someday you will join us. The lyric style is to stimulate the reader to stimulate the condition as what author wanted to share. The simulation became a way to convey the meaning of the literary work by John Lennon. He wanted to share the experience so the reader could simulate an expression on their imagination about the song. This is a cognitive stylistic by John Lennon to deliver his talk by inviting people to imagine the irony that had been constructed. This is also forced the cognitive ability of the reader to simulate it on their talks. So, as the conclusion, we know that the lyrics of Imagine from John Lennon has a cognitive stylistic analysis background which is influenced by the figures of speech. The figures of speech give something that come from the background of the author, which is make the cognitive stylistic analysis is a great approach to analyze this song. Now we are going to the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention to watch this video. Don't forget to click like and subscribe this video. Thank you very much and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.